Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm doing one of my favorite wines that I've ever made. I can't believe I didn't put a video out on this yet, but we are making blueberry wine. It's winter time. I can't get fresh blueberries now, but I know some of you can. And blueberries make some of the best wine. Frozen blueberries or any frozen fruit that you've ever had. Trust me, I've won awards using frozen fruit. And I'm gonna add a little bit of twist because we're gonna add some frozen Merlot grapes. Remember, I hope you got to watch my frozen fruit video because we froze these and now I'm gonna use them. This is gonna smell like blueberry pie. When my wife gets home tonight, she's gonna think I baked a pie. Nope, it's blueberry wine. Blueberry pie wine. I like it. Let's get into this.
Oh, let's get wilder. We could get a little wilder than we are. Wilder.
Now, how much fruit do you need to make blueberry wine? You can see here, I got organic blueberries. These are 3-pound bags. You need 3 pounds for every gallon. I got three 3-pound bags and over here. I hope you watched my frozen fruit video. I froze some Merlot grapes and I'm putting some of these in there. All right, here's some of the additives we're gonna make for this blueberry wine. We're gonna go over each one of these because I wanna explain some of this because there's a lot of confusion. All right, here's some of our equipment we're gonna need. I need to sanitize all this and make sure you're looking in their Amazon store. If you need something, it's all in there. And don't fail in this hobby. Make sure you're sanitizing all your equipment. I got a whole video on this, so make sure you're watching that. And you know we need sugar to make wine, so we wanna get this weighed out. We want 2 pounds for every gallon of wine. There is no wine without sugar or some sweetener because this is what's gonna turn our wine into alcohol. Sugar, that's what's needed. I need 6 pounds for this 3 gallons, 6. Now to get our 6 pounds of sugar in our stock pot, and we're just gonna add equal amounts of water. There's no exact measurement here. I'm just adding equal parts of sugar to water. All we want to do is get this sugar dissolved. We're going to dial the ABV in by adding more water later. All we want to do is stir this sugar water until this becomes clear, almost to the boiling point. And then we're going to let this cool to room temperature. That's it. Now, hopefully you can see it here. It's starting to clear up nice. And you can see the bubbles, it's starting to boil. Don't boil your sugar and burn it. Get your heat off. It doesn't have to be perfect at this point. Again, this is just the primary fermentation. If you're not scraping sugar and it's turning clear, you're done. Let this cool to room temperature. That's it. Now, you don't have to use grapes to make blueberry wine. I just have them on hand and I want to add additional flavor to this. Again, you need 3 pounds per gallon of wine. If you wanted to add another bag instead of the grapes, that's fine. Or you can just use 9 pounds for a 3-gallon recipe. I need to pick through these grapes and get the stems out because we don't want any of those in there. All right, so we picked through the grapes, and what I'm gonna do is, just to make this easier, not messy, I'm gonna divide these in half here because we're gonna mash these up a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is open my blueberries and put them in here because I want these to thaw out a little bit because we are going to mash these up a little bit. All right, it's time to get our additives in our bucket, and I'm gonna go over each one of these as I go, but I wanna sanitize my bucket also. Everything, you sanitize everything in this hobby. I got everything sanitized, I drained it out, and now we're gonna add our additives. The very first one, pectic enzyme. You need this for fruit wine. Unless you wanna have a hazing problem, this helps break down pectin in your fruit. So for pectic enzyme, I want a half a teaspoon for every gallon. So 3-gallon batch, I'm gonna put 3 of these in here. The next thing that is critical in my opinion is yeast nutrient. Healthy wine, healthy yeast. If you have healthy yeast, you're gonna make a great wine. So yeast nutrient is just to help your yeast bloom to its fullest potential. I want a half a teaspoon of this per gallon, so I'm putting 3 of these in this 3-gallon batch. Acid blend. This is just going to give you a full-bodied wine and balance your acidity. Again, I don't deviate from any of these on any of my batches of wine. Well, maybe with the exception of the next one. All right, so a half a teaspoon of acid blend per gallon. So I'm going to put 3 of these in here. There we go. Now, this might be the exception for this batch of wine because I'm putting grapes in. And you saw some of those stems go in on some of the grapes as well. But wine tannin, if you don't have a wine that has a lot of tannins like your fruits, such as pineapples or oranges, you're going to need wine tannin. Since I've already got grapes, I wouldn't put any of this in normally. But, I'm just going to put a half a teaspoon just to show you. So if you're using regular blueberries, you want a half a teaspoon per gallon. So 3-gallon batch, you'd put 3 of these in. So the next thing I'm going to put in here is sodium metabisulfite. This is the same thing as Camden tablets. Usually I'll use Camden tablets. If you watch my videos, I've showed you using Camden tablets because they're just easier to measure. If you were using Camden tablets, you want 1 tablet per gallon. This would require 3. But for sodium metabisulfite, you got to measure it out a little bit different. For a 3-gallon batch, we only want 1/8 of a teaspoon. This stuff goes a long way. So I got 1/8 of a teaspoon here, and we're just going to put 1 of these in, 1/8 teaspoon. This is needed because you don't know what's in your grapes. If there's a bug in there, you want to make sure that you're sanitizing your wine. And that's what Camden tablets does, and the sodium metabisulfite. It is sanitizing your fruit. And you're going to see us when we get to the bottling stage, we're going to use this stuff again because we're taking all our wine and we're putting it into the bottles. We want to make sure nothing's getting into them bottles. So this will sanitize our wine as well. Do not skip Camden tablets or this. All right, now we got these a little bit thawed out. So now what we want to do is what we're trying to do is just to break up these skins a little bit. We're not trying to pulverize them. We're not trying to turn them into juice. We're just trying to crack some of that skin. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm just going to mash these a little bit. And you can hear them popping. Hopefully you can hear that. That's all we're trying to do is release the juices. The frozen part will also do that. But this is what my wife likes to do. She likes to just squeeze them. This works probably a little bit better. I don't have a good masher. I don't know what happened to it. One of the kids took it, I guess. Oh, and it's still freezing. Make sure you're sanitizing your hands for sure. Now the fun begins. It's time to put all this stuff together and make this blueberry wine. I got a mesh bag here. This is gonna just make your job so much easier. Get one of these. I highly recommend it. It's in our store. So now, here we go. We got our blueberries and we're just gonna slowly put them inside of our bag. Both containers. This is all our fruit. Oh my God, it smells so good. I can't wait to taste this one. All right, so it's all in there. Now what we want to do is we want to seal our mesh bag. And you can reuse these bags. I've used these many times. This one's actually still cinching up pretty good. But what I like to do for precaution, because we want to get all this pulp out that we can when this is done fermenting. So sanitized, twist tie, works great. There we go, we'll just cut that off. And here's our cooled off sugar water. Goes right in your bucket, in your fermentation bucket. So what we're gonna do now is add some water because we wanna get this now tested for our ABV, our alcohol by volume. You wanna shoot for a wine with a potential alcohol of somewhere usually between 9 and 13%. Anywhere in there is great. Some people go to 8, some people go to high. Now, you want to do this very slowly. I know where this is going to have to come up for this wine. So I'm rinsing my containers to get all this juice out of these things. So I got a sanitized paddle. You remember we got those additives in the bottom? We want to stir those at this point, get it mixed in. We're going to be stirring this for the next several days. So this will get incorporated very easily as we go. But I suspect this liquid's probably going to have to come up to here. So let's just see where we're at. So what I'm going to do is drop my hydrometer in here. Hopefully it doesn't hit the bottom. So it's not. So I know I'm good to go here. But right now, the potential alcohol, you got to make sure you're reading. I'll get a close-up of this. It's at 30%. So that tells you we got a lot farther to go here. So I'm just going to keep adding water until I get it to where I want. I'm shooting for 12 to 13% today. Let's see if I can do it. Adding water a little bit at a time and stirring as you go. That's like 13%. I might just add a little bit more to maybe get it to 12 and then stop. I always use potential on our hydrometer because it's just the easiest way to do it. If we get a finished specific gravity of 1.0, that's what your ABV is going to be. All right, I'll show you what I mean here. I got my cylinder here. We're just going to take a little bit of wine out and fill this cylinder up so I can show you a little more easily. All right, so we'll drop our hydrometer in here and get a better reading so I can show you where we're at. So you can see here, we're at 14%. That's still a little bit high. I'm going to add a little bit more water to get it somewhere between 12 and 13. That's where I like it. That's where this hobby is fun because you get to put it where you want. You want less alcohol? Go down to 8. I wouldn't go less than that. You want higher? You can get this up to probably 17, 18% if you want. So there, I just added a little bit more water. Make sure you're reading the right side there where the percent is. And this is exactly 12%. That's it. I'm stopping. That's perfection. All right, so there we go. We're just going to give it one final stir here to make sure we're getting everything off the bottom. We're going to sanitize our lid and we're going to get that airlock on here. It's going to be an amazing blueberry wine. But one thing you notice, we did not put our yeast in. You got to wait 24 hours or that metabisulfite is just going to kill this. So what we're going to do, sanitize our lid like this. And we got our airlock. You make sure, I like this style. Again, I got all these in our Amazon storefront, but make sure you're filling it at the proper level. For this case, it's about the midway. Get the airlock on, and we are making blueberry pie wine. I love it. See you in 24 hours. All right, it's been exactly 24 hours. It's time to get our Red Star yeast in here. Let's get this thing fermenting. Get the lid open. Oh my God, it smells so good. Let me get you a close-up of this. All right, I'm telling you, this is some of the best wine you're ever gonna make. I got my sanitized paddle here. I don't need to do much here because it's looking great. It's the color we want. Everything is looking fine. But come tomorrow, 24 hours, hopefully we're seeing some foaming in here. That's the Red Star yeast. That is my favorite yeast. If you don't have a favorite yet, I strongly suggest you get the Red Star. It's like classic champagne yeast. It's my favorite. Now, all we want to do, this is a 3-gallon batch. We're going to use 1 pack of yeast, and you're just going to sprinkle this where you see wine. That's it. If you're doing a 1-gallon batch, you only need about a half a pack. This is good for up to a 5-gallon batch. So we're just going to put it all right in there. That's it. Put the lid back on, seal it up, and we'll check it in 24 hours. All right, it's been 24 hours. You can see it's already started to bubble. Let's get this opened up and get it stirred. All right, let's get it opened up. That's what you want, 24 hours. It's starting to ferment already. It's looking great. And you can see we didn't stir it yet. You can see the foam. That's what you want to see. That means it's working. Now, all you're going to do is you want to stir this for the next 5 to 7 days it might take. When you see it start to slow down fermenting, the bubbler may be only every 15 seconds, 10 seconds. That's when you want to stop and stop this stirring. So this will ferment anywhere from 7 to 14 days. I'm going to fast forward through some of this and show you each day, but this will really start to foam, and man, this is what I'm talking about. It smells just like blueberry pie. Get the lid back on, stir it, get oxygen in here. That's what your yeast needs. And I'm gonna fast forward and stick around for part 2 when we wrap this wine up. And I can't wait to taste it because it's gonna be at the top of your list. I promise you that.
Wow.